everyone, and welcome back to the Clicks Gamescast. I'm your host, Christian Buckley, here for episode 120 on 9/28. I'm joined, as always, by the cozy conductor, my partner in podcasting, Kevin Diaz. How are you?
It's the 28th?
Yeah, October is next week. This week, I think. No.
Interesting.
How do the weekends work?
No, it's I think it's it's like Saturday, I think, right?
30 days has September, April,
yeah,
June,
it's
November.
yeah, no.
Okay.
It's
Saturday.
on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday.
Mm.
But doing good, just working ahead on some videos, some content going. I'm leaving to Chicago this weekend, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's exciting.
Another trip, So doing that, trying to squeeze as much gaming as I can. Haven't started God of War. I'm slipping.
Mm-hmm.
I'm slipping, EDL with EDL. But how are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm doing well. I haven't been playing tons of games lately. Brushed this into housekeeping. Started the replay of Batman Arkham City for Long Play Club. We wrapped up Arkham Asylum. We had to delay recording, so the first episode of the Arkham City long play is not going to be until, 2 Mondays from today, as of the live recording, but game is still a 10 out of 10, as you'd expect from that beginning. But yeah, you are planning some things, right? You're a part of a couple things that you've done. You've done these Road to series. You've done Kingdom Hearts playthroughs. That's up now, right? Unlocking Kingdom Hearts.
Yes.
I almost said Road to Kingdom Hearts. That's not the show.
Unlocking Kingdom Hearts, episode 4, Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days. I know it took a while. It took a long time for that, and expect a somewhat similar, time difference with Birth by Sleep. I hear that's a big game,
Chunky.
and there's a lot of games that are going on right now. So I'm not sure when I'm gonna start that. I'll let you guys know when I do start it. But just keep in mind we have Ragnarok incoming, right. Gotham Knights, Modern Warfare 2 I want to check out as well. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see where I can squeeze that in. But that's up on Cameron Hawkins' YouTube channel and podcast services around the internet and such, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that great stuff. Expect the announcement of the next Road 2 series on Tuesday.
Very nice.
October 4th. You know what I'm saying? Definitely go through that. It's going to be a good time.
If I remember correctly, I think October 4th is another day that will be brought up again during this episode, because we got a lot going on in gaming this week. We have.
I thought you were gonna be like, yeah, it's my sister's birthday, which is true. I'm like, how the hell did you? I'm like, how did you know that? What the flip? Okay, no, go.
A big day for Kevin Diaz, though. Potentially bigger. We'll see if he knows what I'm talking about when we get further into the show. But later in the show, and I see you in the chat right now, we will be talking about Cyberpunk Edgerunners. I've watched a good chunk of it, along with other gaming TV discussion, specifically stuff like the sales we've seen for that game, Cyberpunk, and what we got coming up with Last of Us on HBO. But before any of that, it's time for patch notes, briefly covering some updates to some stories that have happened and some things we've talked about on the show in the past. The GTA hacker, the leaker, was caught. It was a 17-year-old residing in the country of Europe. That's really all there is. I don't know how much information is going to be made public because it's a minor. I imagine this is probably where it will stop until there is some announcement of the fallout of this, but Rockstar got him. The FBI. That's MI6, right? Or is that just James Bond?
I think it's I think MI6 is real.
Owen.
I can do a Google. Yeah, Owen, please.
Owen in the live chat. Is MI6 real? I made up.
I'm pretty sure it's real. It sounds pretty real.
Yeah.
He'll be hired after his sentence. I feel like he's gonna get a good, slap on the wrist, maybe 5 years in jail. You know what I'm saying? That's no slap on the wrist, but I think he'll get some light work, and then he'll probably get hired right after. So, shout out to him. That's a way to start your career, I suppose.
But that happened somewhere before. I remember there was a story. This is probably gonna be a correction, but there was a There was some story about some young person who like 16 or 17, something like that, hacked into some security thing, and they were so impressed that they got past it. They were like, oh, we want you on our team because you saw through this, so please, you know.
Yeah, no, it happens a lot. Yeah. So
You know what else happens a lot?
what's up? What else happens?
Skull and Bones gets delayed a lot. It got delayed again.
Yes, sir. Thank God, yo. I know Sunny Santa Monica, they were stressing, man. Whew, man. You know, happy that they get to have their release. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time. It's a good time.
New release date for Skull and Bones is March 9th of 2023. Hard to imagine what's going to be changed by then, if this was just a move of God of War to avoid that, or there were some last minute bugs to squash. I have no idea, but that game's going to hit. It's going to be $70 for 2 weeks. And lastly, on the patch notes for the week, Resident Evil 4 Remake, game we talked about for a couple weeks in a row at this point, just because of patch notes. It has been spotted on Amazon UK as having a Xbox One and Series X and S SKU. So, as was suspected, the reason that it was not listed as Xbox at the most recent showing was TGS. And they don't list Xbox as platforms there for trailers usually. So, oh, and swiping it in last minute, MI6 is real, LOL, says Owen. Thank you, Owen. Oh, boy. World-educated citizens right here. You know, I downloaded Duolingo, Kevin. Finally.
Yo, I love Duolingo, man.
Yeah.
I'm out here, man. I'm out here getting these. It's like they understand the psychology of like having little tiny, dopamine hits of like achievements and like sound effects and stuff like that. That like they definitely get you hooked. It's good and like it's genuinely fun. No,
Yeah,
I like it.
I know because I did it because my girlfriend took Latin in high school, and she uses it to like just keep that like in her head, even though Latin's a dead language, nobody speaks it. So I was like, oh, I'll download Chinese because, as we talked about before, I took Chinese. However, it's been so long that I feel like if I was in a life or death situation, I would not trust myself. So I'm like, I need to upkeep this so it's still impressive as time goes on.
It was very impressive last week.
Thank you.
It was quite impressive.
We've been playing some game. Well, technically you have. I've played nothing outside of Arkham City. If you're curious how I feel about Arkham City, wait 2 weeks. But you, Kevin, I want to start with something that I have played and talked about on the show before. You've dabbled with Midnight Fight Express.
Indeed.
You've played it.
Indeed.
How did you feel about it?
I did beat it. I did get some notes because I wanted to be a little bit organized. Where are those notes? All right, so I'm gonna just run through these bullet points. I'm saying, and then we'll go from there. First up, the music is good, but I feel like a lot of it sounds very samey, right? And then there's only a few that really like rise to the top, and that are like memorable and like, that's how. Yeah, I do appreciate that they have the song name as well and everything. You won't go back and like listen to it. I assume they're posted somewhere else, right? But the music I thought was good, but wasn't like a crazy, stand out every single level, right? And hey, I get it. There's 40 levels, can you do it every time? But definitely a critique there. The controls, I did find the gameplay overall and the controls to be fun, but I do feel like at a lot of times in this game, I felt like a little bit floaty in terms of the movement, and I feel like I wasn't able to be like as dialed in and as refined from a movement perspective as much as I would like to in a game like this, right? Where like, if you think something of a similar vein to like Hades, right? Like that feels very much like you're dialed in to the controls, right? And like here, I felt a little bit floaty. That was just me personally. The story is a lot more wild than I thought. A lot more wild than I expected. Ultimately, like how it ends. Like kind of very much like okay, like we're going down this slide, going down the slide, whatever, and then we just kind of just stop, and it's like okay, this was fun, So story overall very very wacky, very wild. There is a little bit of a breadcrumb that they leave for a potential sequel. Hopefully, I would like to see it for sure. But overall, story was cool. I had an issue where trophies weren't popping during my first play session of Midnight Fight Express, and that was maybe like the first like 12, 15 levels or so, something like that. But then after I exit out of the game and played it again for like another session, the trophies started popping. So that definitely bleeds into an overall thing I'm going to jump to a little bit is where this game is definitely like a little bit buggy. There were times where enemies would just like fly off the screen in very weird ways. There was one time where I had a knife stuck in my head throughout a whole entire level, right? That like was just an asset that wasn't meant to be there. And stuff like that, right? So those little things definitely, but I wouldn't say that they ruined the gameplay experience. They were just bugs that were definitely apparent and that you saw, right? And that can't be overlooked. So there is that. Considering that this was a PS4 game or is a PS4 game upon release as well, I thought at least for my bit of a snob in terms of how games look and everything from a resolution perspective, a little bit blurry. You know what I'm saying? Not crazy blurry, but you could definitely tell that this wasn't running anywhere above 1080p as far as I'm aware. So definitely there was that. I think the game ramps very nicely in terms of difficulty. I feel like that's probably like one of like my favorite things about this game is that the levels rise in escalation in a very like nice ramp type of way and not like there's crazy difficulty spikes per se. There are challenges for sure, but I was never stuck on one for too long of a time. I played on normal. I think there's
I think it's
two
4.
harder difficulties or four. Yeah,
Yeah.
four. I played on whatever normal was. That was just like the recommended one. And really cool fighting gameplay sequences. Whether you're fighting on top of a truck, you're hopping from car to car, you're doing a lot of really cool combat where you're on a motorcycle and stuff like that, or you're just in various places like a nightclub, corporate building. Like there's very much a lot of diversity in this game from where you fight, and I think that was really cool as well. I just thought that was cool. Thought the whole game as well. So yeah, honestly, a bottom line, I do have a big, I do have my least favorite thing that we'll just get to right now. The score multiplier drains as dialogue is happening, and I thought that was a very odd choice, right? Because I figured it would pause the score multiplier if your drone is talking to you, which is your companion in this whole endeavor. So that the game can facilitate those that want to keep a high score and play good gameplay while also getting the story. And I feel like a lot of times that weird balance made it so you had to really pick one or the other. And I feel like most times, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on the player, but like I feel like you don't want to see your score multiplier go down if it's like a times like 57 or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So I just thought that was a weird thing that the game almost made you choose between. Like, do you want to read the dialogue or continue your score? I thought that was a very odd choice, and that was definitely my least favorite thing about this game. Just felt like those two things butted heads a lot. But I think final thoughts. The combat in the game I really thought was the cream of the crop. I really enjoyed the combat. Very satisfying, even though it does feel a little bit floatier than what I would like. And there were a lot of times where I just really just wanted to get to the action and get to the gameplay. I do feel like this game is a little bit over dialogued in a lot of ways, where you kind of just wanted to just get to the combat. But they want to tell the story, which again is really clashing heads because your score multiplier drains while dialogue is going, just the whole thing, right? So I thought that was a little bit of a mess. Definitely, I feel like they could have definitely cleaned that up. But very, very fun game. I feel like if you like Sifu, definitely not one-to-one Sifu from a quality perspective or a gameplay perspective. At that, definitely there's a lot more depth to Sifu, but I feel like there's a general, sense of depth that I enjoyed and really was reminded of Sifu in a lot of ways with Midnight Fight Express. A lot of cool customization as well with my character. I had the blue gloves, the yellow shoes. Y'all know how it goes. Really cool there. Skill tree, that was pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? Like the skill tree and all that. I like how upon the last level, you get access to all of your skill tree upgrades, which I just feel like is a really cool, like satisfying. If you're gonna play one time, that's how you do it. I feel like, and yeah, cool, cool
Nice.
game, cool game. $20, I think it was. I think I bought it for $20. Don't feel like I, you know, am regretting this purchase. Enjoy my time with it. No, no indie game of the year, but I thought it was pretty good. I liked it. I
Nice.
liked it.
Yeah, since I talked about it on the show, I deleted it off my hard drive because I got the appeal of it, and I was like, I like what I've seen of it so far, but I don't think it's enough for me to get through 40 levels with just like the way it feels. Like it was like it left me wanting just a bit more of like a satisfying connection with things, um, on just strictly like an impact level. So I got through the whoever like I remember doing the first boss, like mob
Yeah.
boss guy, and then I did a couple missions after that. Like I did the subway, I did the train on top of the train, and a couple things beyond that. But I kind of just like faltered because I was like, yeah, this is all right, but I have other things I
There's
want to play.
there's a really good poke and what we're trying to say, I guess, quote unquote, like
A
Easter egg
nod.
to Modern Warfare 2, a
Hmm.
nod in this classic Modern Warfare 2 that I'm like, fuck yeah, like
That's cool.
hell yeah,
Hmm.
it's cool, it's cool, it's cool, it's a good game. I liked it, I liked it, I liked it.
Nice. Well, from what I have gathered, you like this other game substantially more than Midnight Fight, yes?
I mean, so
Yeah?
far, what I'm saying, we're like run through its paces. Cult of the Lamb started it on Switch. Plan on beating it on my flights this weekend. Hopefully, fingers crossed. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's really described. At least if I were to describe it right now, I'd say I'm maybe 3 4 hours in, or so, maybe a little bit less than that. But it's like, what if you had the mechanics of Animal Crossing, right, in a dark, twisted way, but when you go out to use your flight miles to go to another island to get resources, you're doing combat as well as resources. That's really where I feel like Cult of the Lamb is best described, right? Like it does have this, really cool second part to it where it is that Animal Crossing itch of setting up your cult, right? Making sure the cult followers are happy, making sure we're doing those tasks where they're able to give me devotion, where we're doing rituals to empower me, like stuff like that, where like I feel like it is dark, twisted in a cute way, but I feel like it is kind of itching that Animal Crossing vibe that I had back in 2020. Combat at first I wasn't loving. I'm just getting used to it now, more so. But I just feel like there's just, I don't know. I'm just not like loving the combat. Like right now, Midnight Fight is better combat to me than Cult of the Lamb. Right? That may change, but granted, because I'm very early in this game. But I am liking this loop of going in, getting resources, defeating these heretics to unchain. I forgot what his name is, but I guess we can call him God, the one that resurrected me, I'm not working for him at this point. And yeah, no, there's like a lot of side content as well to explore. There's like a mini game I was playing with dice that I found really fun actually. Fishing in this game is very cool as well. I've not seen this take on fishing from a mechanic perspective. Definitely like it as well. And yeah, no, I mean, I don't got a lot to say, but
Hmm.
so far so good. You know what I'm saying? This will definitely be a good enough game for me to play on the plane. I feel like nonstop for sure.
Hmm.
Cannot wait to do that. But yeah, I'm just playing it here, just in bed before I go to bed and all that. And so far so good. I definitely see the appeal for sure.
So
Definitely am liking it.
these combat sections, from what I have gathered, because I have a little bit of interest in this, right? Because I think the art style is like striking. It's a very unique looking game from its concept
Yeah.
and like what it actually plays out as. Um, the combat sections, like when you go dungeon crawling, that is a rogue element, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a random layout, random
Y-
dungeons every time you venture
y-
off from your main base, right?
Yeah, so it is randomized in layout, right? There are certain ways that you can tell what alleyway in the next part of the map will lead to. Like I found out like if you see like there's like hanging like paper like stars and moons, right? If you see that above an alleyway that will lead to the next part of the map, that will usually be a tarot card place where you can get an upgraded like ability and stuff like that, or like a heart if you needed it, if you're low on health and all that. So there are some ways to figure out what's coming next, right? But yeah, it very much plays like a roguelike, very much plays like a Hades in some ways of that facet, right? Like of that just overall genre. Um, and yeah, like it's just mainly just like the combat. I feel like I'm just not getting a good grip of it so far, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because honestly, like there's a lot of weapons that they give you that are very quick to attack and you are very quick and agile, right? But the gameplay really calls for you to slow down and like yo, like these enemies like will hit the fuck out of you, you know, like if you're not careful. So like I just think like that I've been butting heads with and like coming to terms with like yo, like you gotta play this a little bit slower than what you might have at when like you were playing Hades, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where like that it's a little bit more forgiving in terms of enemies taking hits on you and everything. I think that's where the main thing was at with me with combat, but I'm still definitely enjoying it. I feel like you would like this game for sure. I feel like unless there's something that you see that I'm not seeing that you don't like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you would like this game for sure.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I definitely want to try and check it out. I think it's just the main thing, and the reason I ask is because 9 times out of 10, if I pick up a roguelike game, unless it's like a very specific type of roguelike, I just like can't get invested in it. But the fact that you're like leveling up and you're growing like your commune, your cult, whatever it is, like
Your
with
Cole, yeah. Cole
uh,
of the Vita.
oh, okay, okay.
Cole of the Vita. I will say
It's a one-to-one cult. It's a one-to-one size scale of the fans, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's growing, it's growing. You know, come on, man. I will say last thing. Um, I bought this for the purposes on Switch of playing it on the plane ride, right? And it runs, but it doesn't run great on Switch at all,
Hmm.
right? There's a lot of hitches and stuttering, and there's a lot of you know, just like yeah, just a lot of inconsistent frame pacing and everything, and like that kind of shocked me. For I mean, I guess not because this game does look great, right? And
Yeah, there's a
like
lot of depth of field going on in that from what I've
that's what
seen.
it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of like effects and like the field that I think if toned down could have made it run a lot smoother, right?
Hmm.
But definitely if you're just wanting to play this and the flight is not involved, I would highly recommend getting it on PS4, Xbox, wherever it's at, like somewhere that is going to run a lot better at. As far, I mean, I assume it runs better over there on those platforms,
Hmm.
because on Switch it does not run the best, you know.
Gotcha.
But I'm putting up with it just because I want to play on the flight.
Hmm.
So,
Well,
indeed.
great to hear. Um, was there any other time you put into the Modern Warfare 2 beta? Because I remember we talked about it in the middle of last week. I
Yeah,
don't know if
yeah,
that extended any further, but
yeah. And I did a little bit here and there, like nothing really new to report. You
yeah.
know,
I've seen a
I
lot of
am picking up
discourse
the
about
game.
it.
Huh?
I've seen a lot of discourse, like just back and forth of like people talking about like if it lives up to what they wanted it to or it doesn't.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's. I mean, when I was saying that, like, I feel like it's just gonna be a sequel to Marvel 2019,
hmm.
right? I thought it would be worse than what I was thinking, right? I did actually like enjoy Marvel 2 and everything. There were just things that hey, like every COD has its negatives that we don't like as a community. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think it's like as bad as what the extreme people are saying about this game. I don't think. And granted, let's wait till the game comes out. That's absolutely fact, right? But like from a beta perspective, I don't think it's as bad as what we've seen other CODs at in their beta perspectives. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But definitely above all else getting it for the campaign for sure.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Kevin, let's crack open a time capsule.
Let's do it.
Because I mentioned earlier, October 4th, big day for you personally. You got the announcement of the next Road 2. You got your sister's birthday. And also the launch of Overwatch 2, free to play. That's next week.
Why are you tying that with me?
Because
though?
you
I
like
mean, like,
Overwatch. You like Overwatch 1.
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like, like I'm
A
gonna check it
long,
out.
long time ago, you told me if I wasn't a
Yeah,
content creator,
that's
Overwatch would be
fair.
my
That's
game.
fair.
So I always
That's
tie it with
fair.
you. Out of all my friends that
That's fair.
exist, you're the Overwatch one in my head.
That's fair. That's fair. But shit. Okay. Okay.
I mean, it's a free to play launch of a huge AAA game. You're probably gonna check it out, right?
No, like definitely. Are you gonna check it out?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Yeah.
Sure.
They're definitely gonna check it out. I feel like they kind of have a problem with like. I mean, maybe. Hey, maybe the diehard Overwatch fandom is aware that I'm sure they are, right? But like, I feel like there's not a lot of pomp and circumstance and
Mhm.
talk around the community. You know what I'm saying about it. Maybe it's because like there isn't like I assume like a traditional review progress type
Yeah.
thing where there's like if like that might be a thing as well. But yeah, I'm gonna check it out. Sure, for
Because
sure.
from
We'll see.
my understanding, I don't know if they're framing it as early access. I think they are, but it's like it's the
Okay.
multiplayer component of Overwatch 2 launching. The campaign I think is next year. But there
Yeah.
was the Overwatch 2 beta that from everything I listened to, which was the kind of funny Gamescast review of it, which had like some like Overwatch diehards on the panel. Seems like it's good. Seems like it's a good game. And I knew it was launching in October, but when I looked it up, when I saw this morning that was next week, I was like, oh damn, I did not realize that in less than 7 days, Overwatch 2, which feels like it should be this massive thing, is hitting. Um, I only ever played a free weekend or two of the original Overwatch. I liked what I
Mm.
played of it. I think I played as Hanzo because I like a bow and arrow. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'll check it out. I'm sure it's probably gonna have a, I don't even know what it's gonna have for you who was never a hardcore Overwatch head, but you liked it and liked
Yeah.
playing it. I guess what are you hoping to get out of playing Overwatch 2? Like,
I don't even know if I can answer that. I'm
sure.
just dumb. Hey, like maybe I oversold.
Well, just on a strictly a
That's
multiplayer level,
fair.
strictly a multiplayer
Yeah.
level, like a
I mean,
multiplayer
almost. Yeah.
experience, a live service, free to play multiplayer game. You love Splitgate, you love Rogue Company, like though you got addicted to those games for a couple weeks, right?
That's facts. That's fact. It's just like I know Overwatch 2 like does not have the traditional game modes that I'm looking for. Like there's no TDM, like there's like push the payload,
Hmm.
right? Like very team oriented games, which like I like domination and stuff like that. Like don't even get me wrong, but like, domination is different from like push the payload, right? Where like and the way those Overwatch characters like, you know, entwined within each other and their abilities is something that I never got to really fully grasp because I never had a squad with me. You know what I'm saying? And like I never like was deep from that level, right? So I just feel like the way Overwatch has that those deep integrations with everyone's abilities and how they counterplay with each other, that they tie their modes to those aspects in like a lot of ways from like a team perspective,
Hmm.
that I'm sure I'll find fun to a certain degree, but like if you tell me like, hey, we're adding a little bit more of like a casual like TDM domination, like game modes that aren't tied to those cooperative abilities, that
Hmm.
might entice me. But then again, that's not Overwatch then at that point, or
Sure.
like, is it really Overwatch? I mean, we've seen Apex add Arena last year, right? And like that's been successful. So maybe like that's not out of the realm of possibilities, but
Hmm.
definitely not day one.
All I'm saying is tomorrow evening we're doing a holo game presentation. There's five of us. Overwatch 2 is 5v5. We say the word, we do a one text, we can try out that team mechanic. That's all I'm saying.
Mm,
But
mm, mm, mm.
um like Overwatch won the big game of the year in 2016, just launching as multiplayer. Overwatch 2 just launching as multiplayer is in 6 days.
Indeed.
I don't maybe the time capsule is best like framed in a Fallout perspective. Like, do you see any world where Overwatch 2 is like discussed the way the original was come Game Awards times?
Nah, you already know game. Yo, listen, Elden Ring gonna sweep. Doesn't matter.
Hey, I thought Red Dead 2 was gonna sweep the Game Awards,
No,
and it
but
didn't.
Elden Ring is gonna sweep. Elden Ring is gonna sweep.
That's fair.
Elden Ring is gonna sweep in a whole different way than even Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
You know, and that's with Ragnarok dropping. That's. I'm saying that right now. I would love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong, but y'all know how that goes. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'll try to get a match in before we record next week because it is dropping on Tuesday. So we'll see what happens. But Kevin, you hear about this?
About what?
I hope this one isn't attributed to you despite not being that into it, but Gearbox been out here talking about the success of Wonderlands and viewing it as a new franchise for them now. I double checked. I made sure. I went on your GG. I scrolled down to 2022. I saw you play both of the Wonderlands things, the DLC prequel setup thing, and then you did beat the game, right? Wonderlands?
Yeah, yeah.
As a Borderlands fan, big Borderlands fan, is that accurate? You're a big Borderlands fan.
I mean, I haven't seen sales data. You know, maybe
Mm-hmm.
they have data that we don't that indicates that is a big deal, but I didn't see a lot of talk about it personally. I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I talked about it here. I had problems with it, but overall, like I definitely enjoyed it. I'm just confused as to like, okay, so if it's just the notion of like Tina doing her game board and like that whole thing, okay. I just don't know if that like constitutes like a whole separate like franchise because like it's still Borderlands, you know? Like unless he just meant like, hey, like this is like a spin-off series, right? Like, and that's how I should be framing it, right? But like
Yeah.
with the Colts, like he like made it sound like, oh, like, you know, this will exist separate from Borderlands, which I guess makes sense, but like just the way he talked about it just seemed like he was talking about more than just a spin-off when I thought it was kind of just like a
Mm-hmm.
spin-off, you know,
Mm-hmm.
which is cool, but yeah.
I think if memory serves though, you still have more of a reverence for what Borderlands is compared to this, right? Just like because of
Yeah,
the
for
setting and
sure.
everything. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
yeah, because I mean, Gearbox is a large enough company, and now being owned by Embracer, I would imagine that whatever resources they have to make games, like I don't see a world where they tackled this like Bethesda style where it's like everybody's making the Fallout game. Okay, now everybody's making the Elder Scrolls game. Now everybody's on the fall. Like I would imagine it's more of a juggling thing of like I guess Ubisoft is a good comparison of like, hey, yeah, we have the Borderlands team, we have the Wonderlands team. We got people doing weird stuff like Battleborn as experiments here and there to try and get more stuff, but um like, does the idea of more Wonderlands excite you, or would you just prefer if all this attention or all the attention possible was on Borderlands and like Borderlands 4 or a new Borderlands type game like Tales, like experimenting with Borderlands more so than the high fantasy stuff?
I mean, I'm always gonna be hyped for like the core Borderlands, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But I wouldn't mind
Mm-hmm.
having a similar size Tiny Tina game come out every here and there, whatever it's have some in the off season or like in the off years, whatever. Who knows when we're getting Borderlands 4? I bet we're getting it. That's my assumption. But that if like those are going to be the more bigger scale, grander projects, and they have Tiny Tina just running in the background concurrently with the similar, maybe less more budget, I don't know, but like similar scale of
Mm-hmm.
like the story driven Tales from Borderlands, right? Like if they have those peppered in between the main course, as long as that main course is good, and I mean, bottom line, like, hey, like as long as it's good, I'm cool with it, you know.
Sure.
But if it starts to degrade in quality and take from the main Borderlands 4 experience, that's another discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But they are owned by Embracer Group, which I assume they want to recoup some of those Saint Rose sales. So I
Mm-hmm.
assume they want to utilize Borderlands. It's probably like they're one of their most dominant IPs I'd say that they own, as far as I'm aware.
Mm-hmm. I
So
think you're forgetting they have access to one of the most popular IPs in the
what else do
world
they
through
have?
owning Marvel's
What?
Avengers now, which is still getting support.
This fucking guy. When's that shit getting cut for real though?
I don't think it is. I've talked about this with
Come
Jack,
on,
dude.
when's it gonna get cut? Come on,
No,
it's gonna die.
they
It's
do,
gonna
they do
die.
not have any of the debts that Square has with this game, right? Which, to be fair, we don't know the details of, but like, they expected it like very very high expectations out of that for sales. My thing is, Embracer Group acquired Crystal, right? They acquired that game, which again is still getting support. They're still hiring people specifically for that game. I genuinely think Embracer looks at what they have on paper. They're like, okay, we have a foundation, which from all accounts, the foundation's fine. We could build something off of this. Rather than making a whole new game, which is a lot of money, we onboard people to make new heroes, new maps, and all that stuff. And then it just turns into what Marvel Heroes Omega was. And it's just, you know, a
But
rebirth.
like, is that what? I mean, this is probably a whole nother topic. But like, I just don't know if I mean, people don't like that game. Period.
People don't like the live service elements of that game. If you ask
Which is
anybody, people
which
talk
is a
about
great.
the campaigns of that game. They're like, the campaigns were fine. I enjoyed them, and then
Yeah,
I left.
they're fine. Do they want fine for? Does Disney want fine for Avengers? You know, like that's where I'm getting at. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just keep it real. You know what I'm
I
saying?
think at the same coin though, like there was that interview. I think even like before Fallen Order came out, Disney CEO was like, "We're very pleased with what EA's done with Star Wars." So like, I don't think they care. I think as long as
Okay,
it's like this not
okay,
really
but like,
bad.
oh, okay, what has happened since then?
This is what.
E- EA's out the fucking deal anyway.
No, they're
So
not.
like they're not like they lost the exclusive rights is what I'm saying.
Right, but they're
You know
still
what I'm
making
saying?
more Star Wars games than anybody else right now.
I don't want to make it more, but
Yeah.
like you know what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah.
You
I'm just saying
you know what I'm saying,
If
bro.
you're
You
Embracer
know what I'm
Group,
saying.
if you're
You
Embracer
you
Group
know what I'm
and you
saying.
have something that works, you have something that's like this foundation, it's good enough.
Does it work though? People don't like the game, bro. People don't like the game, bro. People don't like the game. And like fine, yeah, the story stuff even I agree. I agree as well.
Hmm.
They're fine,
Yeah, and character kits,
but can
people
we
like the character kits. People like how the characters play. It had the combat designer of God of War leading that team, Kevin. It's got a
yeah.
solid combat foundation. All they just need is better maps and better
Is
objectives.
that really all they need? Is that really all they need?
Genuinely, I think so. Yeah.
I don't know about that, Christian. I don't know
Mhm.
about that. I think we need to let that shit die. Maybe do like a 5 6 year gap. Come back with the Avengers, Kang Dynasty or whatever the fuck, and we'll probably gonna take longer than that. But let's get a real narrative driven Avengers story. Wouldn't that be swell?
Mhm.
Wouldn't that be swell?
You know what else would be swell?
What else would be swell?
If PlayStation acknowledged Sly Cooper a little bit more, tiny bit more, because it was his birthday this week. He turned 20, and hold on, there's
Wait,
a,
you want
there's a
more? You want more acknowledgement?
yes.
Fam, you gotta look at this. Look at these posters and shit. Come on, aren't you? Are you not satisfied? I
I'm
feel like you'd be
not.
satisfied, bro. They killed your hearts and killed your spirits earlier this year with them saying that hey, it's not happening.
Hmm.
It's not happening. Sorry, have fun with what you have. It is what it is, right? I thought they would never bring that shit up again, you know. So I'm saying, hey, for the PlayStation that we have now, the fact that they went out of their way to commission this merch is, I think, hey, I think y'all should be grateful. Personally, I think that y'all should be grateful because I don't think we're getting shit from Infamous. Not a fucking peep from
When
Infamous.
Infamous has an
We'll see.
anniversary, maybe we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. I would be so blessed, but I would consider y'all very lucky, honestly. But go ahead, please.
So it was Sly Cooper's 20th birthday. PlayStation announced through a tweet, they were like, "Hey, we partnered with Fangamer, and there's a couple things. You got a poster, which is one of the apartment buildings in a city lineup from what looked like the original Sly. It looked like a very specific apartment building. Had a bunch of characters, a bunch of NPCs inside the cutout of the apartment. Very nice poster. There's also a plush of Sly that's been announced to be coming TBD, and then a T-shirt. And alongside this, they tweeted out that like huge news. Don't worry, everybody. Play the Sly Cooper games because we're bringing the HD collection back to streaming. It was on PS Now. It's now back on Premium. Um, at the very very least, especially because they're making a big deal about these new back catalogs. Just the PS2 versions, untouched. It's just put them on there. $10. End of story. I wouldn't say a single word. Sly 4, you have a bit of a question about because that one is a PS3 and Vita game, and that would only be available streaming. But I'm just puzzled if the back catalog and like getting PS2, PS1, PSP, and you have three great PS2 games, it's like just do it. It's for the anniversary. It felt it genuinely the poster, the merch stuff is cool. But talking about the actual thing, the reason that people care about Sly Cooper, these games, it very much felt like the bare minimum. It's like, hey, we brought back the thing you could have done 8 months ago.
Yeah, they're doing the bare minimum for a dead IP. Like, I'm not necessarily defending it, but it's like, hey, like, did you really expect them to like re-release this shit? Like, really? Like, come on.
I
now.
expect them to if they're making a big deal about this new push for the new services and the new platforms and the new back catalog, and it's their
Yeah, and they put the games on the new service. Like they put the games on the like that is the bare minimum. Like that is what they're going to do. They're not going to go above and beyond for what they've said weeks ago to be a dead IP. Which
is it above and beyond to port the worst versions of that trilogy to your service that you're implementing to your new push for a new thing?
Look here, man. Look, man. If I was in charge, I would love to give you that, sir. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that that's not a lot of effort per se, right? This is me speaking from no game development background, so there's that too.
Right, but from an emulation development, which I can speak to, I could get those things on my Mac in seconds, you know?
That's delightful.
Yes.
That's absolutely delightful. But bottom line, that's more effort than what's required, and that's not what they're trying to do for a dead IP.
I know.
Like,
I'm the reason that I'm stumped is because they're like, what is the purpose of? And I know we haven't heard of what they are for this month yet. They leaked last time, right? That's like the mid-month things.
Wait, no, they're actually like for the premium and extra.
Yeah, the middle of the month things.
Yeah, I have a suspicion that last month was an anomaly because they just want to announce Deathloop ahead of the Game Pass announcement. That's kind of my thought, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should be getting this update in the middle of the month. That's what they said they would do, but didn't do last month. But go ahead. Yeah.
Yes. So far, as you know, and somebody who's not subscribed to the high tier new service or anything, and was intrigued and hopeful when they said they wanted to talk, like bring more back catalog stuff up, PS1, 2, PSP, no Vita, sorry. I'm just like, Sly Cooper is one that they fully own. They fully own that. It's like, yes, you can't get Kingdom Hearts on the PS2 catalog. You can't get Tony Hawk on the PS2 catalog. But rather than like, what was it, Loco Roco 2 they dropped last month for the PSP or something like that? Like, you have this mine that you're just sitting on.
Wait, did Loco Roco get like a remaster or something like that? And did they put the like original on that? Because the Sly Collection, that's a remaster, right? Of like HD. I know it's streaming, and I know that's
that's the purpose of everything. I'm talking about like it's the PS3 thing. It's like if they were like, hey, the Jack and Daxter HD trilogy is available for streaming, which it might be. I don't know. I don't browse that catalog, but you can buy the PS2 versions, even though the remaster exists and has been accessible on PS Now in the past.
Is there an example of that happening yet?
What?
Where they have like the old version available, as well as the new HD version.
I think Jack and Daxter would be the example. Stuff to this catalog, Sly Cooper, great choice. The old PS2 God of Wars, great choice. The old Ratchet and Clanks, great choice. You know, Shadow of the Colossus.
They only care about IP that's not dead in the water like Sly Cooper is.
Then where's God of War?
I saw a raccoon. They're up on the service, just
the
like
streaming ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, listen, am I jaded? Probably, but it is what it is. You know. they're putting in bare minimum, and that's just what the fuck it is. You don't gotta subscribe. If you want to take up your old PS2, go ahead, have fun with that. Kumbaya. Bet.
Mhm.
You know, idea with idea. You know.
Well, speaking of dead IP, it's time for pause.
Wait, which one's dead?
I'm starting to
Out of what
segue.
we're
I'm, start,
talking
I'm
about.
starting to segue. I'm starting to segue. It's the beginning of a segue.
Oh, which one? Okay, where's it going?
Video
Um,
game adaptations. We're getting more and more every single week. Just last week, what got announced? There was something got announced. Onimusha from Capcom that got announced. I think today or yesterday. Got Assassin's Creed recently. Ruben Flesher's doing Jack and Daxter. That's a dead IP that's being worked on. Sly Cooper was a movie that got axed, and I have no idea what happened to that. Video game IP is being brought back in a very consistent way through streaming now because we see stuff like Dragon's Dogma that hit. That was a dead franchise before 2 got announced. We see uh, Prince of Persia getting that Jake Gyllenhaal movie years ago before, like, there was no real other Prince of Persia games before that one for a couple of years at least. Um, so video game adaptations, we are very familiar with them, and very recently it seems like there's been a bit of a shift in terms of quality expectations from time to time and the repercussions that could happen back onto video games. Specifically, the point of the show this week, talking about 2 examples of this, and floor is open to other things as well, other things to bring up. Um, Cyberpunk Edgerunners is an anime that hit Netflix the beginning of September, I think. I've been slowly working my way through it. I'm on episode 6. There are 10 episodes total. I have not played a second of Cyberpunk 2077, but Jesus Christ, I love this show. It is a very, very good television show. And I'm not alone because it was number 1 on Netflix for a very long time, only being dethroned somewhat recently. And CD Projekt Red this entire month has been talking a lot about the impact of Edgerunners on 2077, and it's sort of created this moment that we have talked about before, but it just hit some new milestones. They officially passed 100,000 concurrent players on Steam across all platforms. They mentioned that around the launch of the show for a good number of weeks, they were averaging 1 million players per day in Cyberpunk 2077. And as of this morning, they announced that the game has sold 20 million copies, which has taken a very long time to get there because the game launched in launch month. It sold 13.7. So that's been 2 years for them to sell about another 6. And they've been pushed over the edge because of Edgerunners. Now, this is something that's happened to CD Projekt Red before. However, it's not been in the context of we fucked up and now all the work we've done is paying off. The thing we've talked about very many times on this show is what happened with The Witcher, where the Witcher Netflix series, which I'm a big fan of, released season 1, did all right. Season 2 came out. I want to say that was last December. Dropped. Witcher 3 did incredibly well. It hit number 1 on Steam, hit number 1 on a lot of platforms, and just sort of got another moment, 6 years after the initial release, because of this cross-media synergy. Even though the Witcher show is not fully based off the game, it's like taking like the smell of the game, but is very much derived from the original text. Cyberpunk is written by like people who worked on 2077. And all these things combined, the game is doing very, very well. So the reason why I think this is interesting is because we see people like PlayStation. Microsoft has done this earlier this year with the Halo show and whatever else they're probably planning. Nintendo is prepping to do this with the Mario movie early next year. Sonic's leading the charge with movies right now. A lot of video game companies are trying to get into adaptations, and we wonder why. We wonder what would be the impact. I think so far with Witcher, but mainly now Cyberpunk, you see the best case scenario where a game that wasn't great, in many ways bad when it came out and created a bad reputation around this thing, has kind of been turned around. Yes, after like 2 years of hard work on the original product, but mainly the trigger was this cross media promotion synergy thing where you make a show, people love the show, people want to buy the game. So when you look at something, Kevin, like PlayStation Productions, big PlayStation guy, what do you see like when we get The Last of Us, which got its trailer, we can get to that in a moment. Last of Us, the show, looks like it's going to be great. Last of Us, the game, is great. We've had two examples, I guess, this year of great thing helping not so great thing with Cyberpunk, and then a not so great thing, depending on who you ask, the Uncharted movie, maybe helping the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves sales. There was some synergy there. When you get something where both elements are great, do you think that there's going to be this huge moment next year for Last of Us Part 1 if the show is great? Looking at what happened to Cyberpunk, where they were fighting an uphill battle, great show, game, now having this really great success. Like, do you see anything happening further than that? Because the game and the show could be like of a higher quality, like both of them, rather than just sort of like show's great, game's not great, game's great, show's not great, like that sort of thing, I guess.
That was a lot.
Yeah, sorry. It's a
No,
lot of
I mean,
stuff.
I think it. I mean, no, like with The Last of Us, it's just gonna be a thing of like the 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 game is excellent, one of the greatest games of all time, and if this series is good, then that's just going to, I assume, just bolster sales and like have more interest on Last of Us from a more general perspective, from like a more casual audience. I believe the sales will be bolstered for like not only Last of Us but Last of Us Part Two as well. I think they are aiming for a collection, right? That just seems pretty apparent since they did like a Legacy of Thieves thing. I feel like they will do like a similar thing in time for the show that will have probably a Part Two PS5 version, director's cut. But no, I mean, other than just like a bolstering of sales, like there's not really a need of a reputation thing to be rebuilt from Naughty Dog. Like you make good shit, you're gonna get attention. Period. Right. And the game is excellent. The show is looking to be excellent. That's wait to be seen, of course. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I don't think like there's gonna be like any other side effect that I see at least with The Last of Us, other than just like a boost in sales and like people like yeah, look good. We have good people behind it. We have Neil Druckmann behind it. We have Gustavo Santa Olaya behind it, and it's another good Last of Us but this time in the form of like a adaptation that people that aren't into games can experience that story and that narrative.
Yeah. I think the closest comparison then, because I agree with the way you laid it out, I think it's probably just going to chart high that month. I would imagine similar to what Cyberpunk did. They're going to offer it like some sort of a discount when the show premieres. It's like, hey, 20% off, pick up part one, whatever. Because that also like helped fuel the momentum that Cyberpunk had recently, and they very much spoke to that. But
would be interesting is if they do like a PS Plus deal or something like that, where
like it's on extra.
You get a month of HBO Max or something like that.
Oh, okay.
I wonder like something like that. Something like that. However they want to set it up. I don't know if they have. They probably do have like telemetry of does this account own The Last of Us Part One or any Last of Us at that, right? Maybe I don't know, something like that, probably something.
But based off the way you laid it out, I do think the closest comparison is probably Witcher, because Witcher is, again, Witcher 3 specifically touted as one of the best games of all time. I would agree with that. And the show is like, season 1 I think is good. Season 2, from what I've seen, is quite good. It's very approachable in a way. Like, it's similar to Mandalorian, except it's the Witcher setting, and you're seeing Geralt take care of, at the end of the season, meet up with this teenager and help her trained to become a Witcher, but like it's done numbers for Netflix, and Netflix has like fully dove in on more Witcher stuff. Like there's an animated prequel, there's a prequel show or movie that's coming out this Christmas. That's just like about the origins of the Witchers as a species, and then season 3 also got announced to be hitting next summer. So like Netflix is fully there, and I imagine because of the success that CD Projekt found with the show releasing and then Witcher 3 boosting in sales, again 6 years after it came out, I could probably see a similar thing maybe happening when this new special comes out. It's probably going to be around the same time as what they've promised with the, not director's cut, the next gen Witcher 3 upgrade that does have Netflix content in there. So yeah, I think the closest analog is probably that, because in the case of Witcher, it's like good show, great game. Last of Us is most likely going to be great show, great game. And I'm curious to see what the ceiling is for that, I think, because when Witcher did well again, it was not this like big moment, at least in the circles that I've been in for years on Twitter. It seemed like, oh, look at this, isn't that neat? Witcher sold well, Witcher charted again. There's been people, and I know it's probably because there are people like Owen and Arachnite who are big fans of 2077 that are like, it's good, it's just a bad version if you're not playing it in the most ideal setting. So maybe that's why it feels like it's more loud. To me, at least, it feels more loud. Like, I know you haven't watched Edgerunners, but you've seen a lot of this conversation happening this month, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've also been seeing like a lot of cap of like, oh, like Cyberpunk was always good, right? And like, I feel like this is the start of another cycle of like, okay, us as gamers, we're all gonna fucking forget, and then everyone's gonna, be blindly just trusting of CD Projekt Red for the next project and not recall what the fuck happened in 2020, 2019,
Mm-hmm.
December, right? So that definitely concerns me and like gives me like a little bit of eye roll of like, we're just so easy to just sway back
Mm-hmm.
and not keep these companies accountable, right?
Mm-hmm.
For what they delivered day one to a lot of people, which was not great, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So that I kind of eye roll at, but like still heard even from 2019 and going onwards that like, hey, like the PC crowd, right, that like played Cyberpunk loved what was there, right? And there was genuine like good stuff in there, right? So I'm not attacking the game's content for itself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm attacking obviously the state that the game launched in, right? And I just feel like we're getting a lot of revisionist history around this hype of a good show, which I'm sure is great. Sure, it's a good show. I'm interested in watching it. I love
Yeah.
cyberpunk genre. That's my fucking jam. So I know once I get around to these properties in cyberpunk, I'm going to enjoy it, right? But I just am concerned that like a lot of people are just going to just forgive a little bit too quickly and forget a little bit even quicker when it comes around for their next project, and they're just gonna blindly and the cycle continues. You know, so
Yeah.
let's at least pump the brakes, right? Not saying that they're not capable of creating good games. They've shown that they can be. This was a misstep. This
Mm-hmm.
was a flaw in their overall output, right? But let's, perhaps be a little bit more sophisticated in how we look at their next project,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And
And
not forget.
to be fair, some of the things that I've been reading and like listening to and watching about this sort of scenario that you just laid out are more like speaking to the quality of like what went into the game rather than the optimization, which was bad. And everybody who I've heard talking about like there are like shining elements of this original game are recognizing that like it was completely unacceptable. It should have waited another year. And like that is being acknowledged. That's not being swept under the rug. And I think a lot of it's also come to, I read a really good piece. I think Forbes had it of like, the moment feels like it's more like celebrating the people who like worked on the game and like put work into the fixes over the last few years rather than the management who called it's ready to go, like we have to put it out now. So like that part is interesting to me, and I do think that is probably the reason why it felt so loud, because you do have that PC crowd that has seen that from the beginning and is now being delivered to more and more people. But again, like thinking about something like The Last of Us, which again, part one, there's nothing wrong with it, right? Like you played the whole thing, you thought complete package, you had no issues with it, right?
It's the definitive version of Last of Us, absolutely.
Yeah, so like when the show comes out, I don't know
That
how
people honestly
loud.
look. Okay, you actually, you know what? Christian? Here's a side effect that I would love to see
Sure.
when the show comes out, right? Everyone finally can talk more honestly and more thoroughly about The Last of Us Part 1 as a product, right? And less of the discussion around its price tag. Something that is a temporary aspect to games, right? Games aren't always $70, right?
Mhm.
So I would love if we can all just quit that, right? And just look at The Last of Us Part 1 for like what that package is. Cause like that, it's a phenomenal game. I said it here. If you want to buy a 70, I'm not saying go buy a 70. I get it, whatever, right? But like if we can just have that conversation, just not take up the majority of when people talk about Last of Us Part 1, once the show comes out, and we can really sit down and really like discuss how great of a game that still holds up to 9 years fucking later, and that there are plenty of games that it overtakes that come out in 2022, right? That would be nice. I would very much enjoy that actually. I would very much enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that conversation I think is not as loud as the like if that inevitably comes to pass, which I do think it will, because you're right. Like from the second that game, like the week after it, when once it was a week old, like that whole conversation is like kind of irrelevant, because it's like it's okay, you either bought it or you didn't buy it, and in time, like I said, when the show comes out, I imagine they're gonna be offering it discounted, not like substantially probably because they don't need to, but 15% off, 20% off, whatever. Like I think that conversation, because it's The Last of Us, which is just going to be taken up part one as like the default original game now, is like it's like, well, yeah, it's great. When the show comes out, it's like, oh, this is great. The game's great. Like I think the reason that Cyberpunk, I imagine, is probably going to be an anomaly when we get more of these adaptations is because it launched terribly. And then when you see a lot of people who did buy the game since the show came out, seeing the work that was put into it, being like, hey, this is actually good, there's less of a surprise there, and people like to have the conversation of like, yeah, it's I like this thing that was hated now, like that's a thing that people just like doing on the internet. So um my point is, I think in future adaptations we will probably not see as loud a moment for the game conversation going back to it because of the media that we saw this month. That's my guess, because most games that are getting adaptations either already have a huge following behind them or were celebrated at least once on a grand scale. So I don't think we'll ever see anything that's like this loud for a while. Personally, that's just my guess about like, hey, this game's great. It's like a lot of upcoming things will probably be like, yeah, I checked it out and I liked it. So that's my expectation. But yeah, that show, that HBO trailer does look good. And I did a breakdown. Is that up yet?
I am working on it. Literally 5 minutes before I jumped this call. Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is coming. A lot of cool stuff in there. No, and like it looks good. It looks good.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see when thing comes out. You know what I'm saying? I have been on record saying there's no way this is bad. That's a quote. I did say that, right? But that's a bit hyperbolic. If you want my honest thing, hey, let's just wait till the show comes out. Let's assess it for what it is, episode by episode, and we'll see how
Mm-hmm.
it goes. Yeah, but it is looking good so far. It is looking good.
Yeah. I've tweeted this. I'll say it on the show. I think there is potential. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think there is potential that the show is better.
Then the game.
Yes.
You can have that. You can have that. I don't want to say that yet because like there's just things that like
Yeah, I'm not saying it's going to
you
be. I'm
know
saying there is it's completely
games.
has the room to be better than the game based off of what the game's point was. Is my view of it at least.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna let you have that.
Mhm.
You can have that. Yeah, I'm gonna just I'm just wait and see. I'm just wait
Mhm.
and see.
I will say, 4 episodes to go in Edgerunners. Curious to try the game. I don't know if I'm going to, but I'm curious, and I do think you specifically would really
Oh
love the
no,
show.
I
I think.
know. Yeah, and I bet I would really enjoy the game as well. Like no, for sure. And like those things will happen. I did hear that they're still doing tweaks to the police system in the game overall, like
That's the
and the
next
way.
patch. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna just wait. I
Mhm.
waited this long. Why not just keep waiting? Fuck it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm in no rush.
I think today's the last day. I believe it's $25 everywhere.
Yeah,
They're
I
doing it
got for
50%
25.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I just missed. It was GameStop had it for $10. Missed out on that. That was a couple days ago, but yeah. Once I see the show through, I'm probably gonna at least give the game a weekend or something. Check it out and see what it's like because the show is very very good. So, um, yeah, that is Pods for the week, and that is the show for the week. Kevin, where can people find you before we reconvene to talk about Overwatch 2 next week?
Use the comments as plays in source. Expect the Road to Ragnarok announcement very shortly. You know what I'm saying? We got the intro cut. I do like it myself. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm biased. Maybe I'm biased, but there's that. Check out the Last of Us HBO trailer breakdown. Shit, I forgot that this is live. It will be up very shortly. Tomorrow. At the absolute latest tomorrow, but like for real this time. I will be staying up all night tonight. Yes, after I go to work. So
But in the
there's
meantime,
that.
there's reactions, right?
Yep, there is my reactions where I did like a live type of thing where we found some cool shit. We found some cool shit in that trailer that I was like, damn. So that's up. You can check out that as well as a breakdown of the Kena Bridge of Spirits anniversary update. A lot of cool stuff in that update. A lot of cool like actually game changing things that are in that update that could be really cool and really is a brand new way to play Kena Bridge of Spirits. I thought that would be the PS Plus game for October, but looks like it's not. Which you can get the rundown on that as well on the channel right there. Also made a shorts version of that PS Plus video. Just testing some things out. You know what I'm saying? You might see some more shorts here and there, doing some testing on the YouTube algorithm, seeing how it treats my channel and all that fun stuff. And yeah, Twitter at PSOurce Vids. Don't forget the Unlocking Kingdom Hearts podcast is up for 358 over 2 days. Birth by Sleep is next. And yeah, that's about it, guys. And also, keep it locked on my Twitter. Keep it locked on my Twitter for the next few days here and there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Some cool stuff. Cool stuff.
For sure. You can find me, Twitter and TikTok at Chun2D2. You can find the show on Twitter at JoyClicks. We will always tweet out as the episodes are about to go live, or you can have the notifications on youtube.com/JoyClicks for uploads and when we go live. For the show every Wednesday up on the channel currently. Like I said at the top, the Arkham Asylum Long Play Club is done in completion. You can check that out. We will have Arkham City beginning in the month of October. If you're watching this show live, tomorrow, Hall of Game 3 for 2022 is happening. Tune in for that. See what game joins the ranks. I think there are currently 12 games inducted in the Hall. Going to be adding 2 more this week. And then we got 1 more for the year after that. But if you want to listen to this show, you can do so. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Just look up Clicks Gamescast. You'll find us. Rating and reviewing helps us out very much. Just takes a quick second. And if you want to support us further, you can go to patreon.com/joyclicks at the $1 and $5 tiers. $5 will give you producer credit on every show we produce, like Aaron Easton and Jose Garcia. So thank you very much. And that's Gamescast 120. We'll be back 121 next week with some more games and some more takes. But until then, it's pizza time.
It's pizza time.